Hello, and welcome to Appleton Engaged. I'm your host, Timber Smith, Special Assistant to the Mayor for Community, Culture, and Belonging. And Appleton Engaged is a podcast that explores the many people, organizations, and resources that make our community a great place to live, work, and play. So whether you're a longtime resident or just getting to know Appleton, join us as we learn more about our community together. Hey, Appleton Engaged listeners, how are we doing out there? Okay, I am crazy excited about today's episode. Because even though I'm not sure when you will listen to this, but we have started a new year. So that's always excited. This is, whether you realize it or not, our third year of Appleton Engaged, which is pretty awesome. Thank you for going on this journey with us and caring about our community and listening to these episodes and engaging these amazing resources that we have. And a big thank you to all of the resources out there who've taken time to come on here and let our community know the amazing work that you're out here doing, making Appleton a better place to live, work, and play. So that is how we are starting this new year off. But more importantly, we have fire guests in a fire organization today. So this week's guests are Sarah Munson, Marketing Brand Manager for Rawhide Youth Services, Mallory Schwan, Director of Development, Rawhide Youth Services, and Angie Lee, Development Manager for Grants for Rawhide Youth Services. Hey, you ladies, how are you doing?
Hey, great. How are you?
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm doing pretty well. Excited about this new year. How about y'all?
Yeah, we are too. Kicking off 2025. Couldn't be happier to start another year with such a great organization.
Oh, facts. Okay, well, if you don't mind, could you each please tell us a little something about yourself and your association with Appleton and the Fox Cities region? And Sarah, can you start us off?
Absolutely. Happy to. Thank you for having us. Super excited to be here. Sarah Munson, Marketing Brand Manager, as Timber shared, for Rawhide Youth Services. I have been blessed to be a part of the Fox Valley community for 9 years now, where I get to raise my kiddos, and I can't ask for a better place for that and to be a part of a wonderful community. We had lived around. I'm originally from Munson, Indiana, so Midwesterner still, but not familiar when we moved here, and I was totally welcomed by many in the community and started my career with McClone Insurance and Marketing. One, they give back to the community, and it got me started in becoming more involved in a lot of nonprofits throughout the area, and then came on and joined Rawhide Youth Services to continue making a difference. Super excited to be a part of it and to be here to share our story today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and congrats on 3 years, Timber. That's an amazing accomplishment. Mallory Schwan here, as Timber mentioned, Director of Development for Rawhide. So I am a transplant to the Northeast Wisconsin area. I live up in Green Bay, and I got here about 6.5 years ago. Big corporate job kind of sent me marching orders in a good way and moved fairly sight unseen to the area and really just felt an immediate connection to the people and the communities in Northeast Wisconsin, in Green Bay where I live, down through the Appleton and Fox Valley area. And a big part of that was the very deliberate career change that I made to move away from corporate work and to go back to my nonprofit roots, because I could feel myself wanting to have roots in this area. It felt very familiar to where I grew up in Rapid City, South Dakota, very welcoming, very giving community, both from an individual standpoint, from the philanthropy in this area, and seeing the incredible work nonprofits here were doing just brought back that drive of wanting to have that be what I was spending my time and my talent doing. And I'm not sure that would have happened the same way outside of communities like this area. So I feel very lucky that a job offer brought me here, and conscious choice has kept me here so far.
Hey, Timber. I'm Angie Lee, and I was born and raised near Chicago and lived in central Illinois for 17 years before I moved to Oshkosh in 2015. And when we were touring the city to see whether, this would be a good fit for our family, it was an immediate yes. I was sitting along the Fox River, and it was I felt it. It was so obvious for me that this is where I needed to be next in this next chapter of my life. And it's been such a wonderful journey being here in the Fox Cities. I love the community I live in. I love the people, and I feel so loved and that I belong here. And I try to give back with that same type of welcomeness and openness that people have shown me. And it's been just a love story of me being here.
Awesome. Well, now we got to get to the business. And the business is this. Can you please share with us about your resource?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are Rawhide Youth Services, formerly known as Rawhide Boys Ranch. Our primary location, our main campus, is out near New London. That's what most folks are familiar with, is what, as I said, used to be called the Boys Ranch. So that's our residential treatment program. It is, to this day, truly the heart and soul of Rawhide. It's the original location that was founded by John and Jan Gillespie with the help of Bart and Cherry Starr. So many people know that famous story of the MVP Corvette raffle. So we still do a lot of our work out there. But over the last couple decades, and then really especially over the last 10 years or so, we have grown tremendously in our outpatient counseling services. So not only do we still serve kids in a residential and group home function in New London and also a home up in Peshtigo, but we have 7 outpatient counseling clinics. We have 4 equine therapy locations. We're actually the largest provider of equine assisted therapy in the state of Wisconsin. We do occupational therapy as well. And we're really very lucky to be very embedded in those communities where we provide that outpatient care. We also have therapists who are directly in our schools throughout the Northeast Wisconsin area as well, too. So we've developed some really deep partnerships to bring therapists directly where the kids are at. And the kids that we serve, I know Angie and I were talking about this earlier today, and Sarah, serving just an incredible group of kids, a lot of them from younger kids in our counseling programs to our residential programs, which is primarily early tween and teenage boys. So we're very lucky to be able to touch lives across a pretty wide demographic.
So I got some questions.
I hope so.
All right. Is it all boys that Rawhide serve only?
It's not actually. So the residential program in New London, those are all boys who are going through the juvenile justice system. So that is young men only. In our Peshtigo group home, that is co-ed, that is boys and girls. It's a different type of case for the kids that find themselves at our Peshtigo group home, and it's a smaller facility. It's just 8 beds. But in outpatient counseling, we actually serve more young girls than we do boys. So we will serve all of the kids that we are called to and that need our services, but we've really expanded to reach a lot of young women as well through our programs.
If I can just throw one number out there, last year in 2024, we served 1,947 youth in this region, and that's something that we're so grateful to be a part of. And we know that our impact continues to grow and deepen. And, with the mission as strong as ours, we know that that work will continue and that we'll be able to reach more lives.
Did you say 9,000?
Did I?
No,
okay.
you said 1,947. But I think what is so incredible about that number, Angie, is that when you look at mental health and our communities, building healthy kids builds healthy families, builds healthy classrooms, builds healthy communities. So when you look at that number, that's the kid in the session, that's the kid in a residential program, but the effect that it has on their surrounding family and friends is exponential so far beyond that. It's a number we couldn't possibly count, which is not to brag about our services, but just to think about how important strong mental health in our kids really is as they continue to grow and find their place within our communities.
There's a big need out there, too. We're only touching a fraction of the youth that actually need mental and behavioral health services. So when you really think about it, the access to care is crucial for youth in our communities as they continue to grow and they continue to navigate the challenges that they are facing.
So I remember the days when these Rawhide commercials were on all the time, right? And and it was all about boys working on cars. What we're talking a lot about is mental health, which we know like that's a great need right now for our youth. Does any of that programming still exist? that people are familiar with, or has Rawhide made just a total shift towards focusing on mental health and therapy?
Yeah, so I would say less a shift and more an evolution. One of the reasons I call our new London campus kind of the heart and soul of Rawhide is that there are so many threads from that original mission and the original actions and the ways where boys were treated that have carried throughout the years. But they've changed. They've evolved as kids' needs have changed, as we have grown in understanding mental health. So we do still take cars. We have our vehicle program. You can donate your car, really anything motorized. We've taken boats and planes and jet skis and all kinds of stuff. But
What, planes?
we have gotten like the little Cessna type of planes. We've gotten those before. Yeah.
wow.
I know. I don't think they work too well, so I wouldn't recommend getting a license with one. But now the automotive repair is a formalized job training program. So we offer behavioral job training on our campus for kids where they learn career skills, time management, conflict management, and then also the true skills of automotive repair that results in dual credits and a certificate, an industry recognized certificate. It teaches them goal setting. It teaches them to be future forward and thinking about what they want to do, not next week, but next year and as an adult and things like that. So we've taken that core of what we started with, and as we've learned, we've grown those programs and shaped them in a different way. But it still has that heart of there are still a lot of cars out there, and there's still those boys that are coming to us for the services that they really need.
Angie, I've had an opportunity to talk to you a little bit more and understand that, before you started doing what you're doing right now for Rawhide, you actually were someone working in the classroom with these students. Can you share a little bit about that experience and what happens working with those students in that kind of environment?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Thanks, Timber. So I started at Rawhide in June of 2023, and I'll share a little bit more of that story later, but I can tell you firsthand, working in the classroom, that it has been one of the most transformational experiences of my life. The youth I got to work with are incredibly courageous and resilient. When you hear their stories, it's heartbreaking and heart-wrenching, and yet you see their courage, you see their ability to process and grow. And I've had the privilege of witnessing the transformation that happens when, our values, our compassion, our unconditional love and relentless perseverance, our unshakable faith, what happens when our values are applied. And the people who work with this youth with our youth are so incredibly loving and generous and kind and real, right? There's a lot of rawness in that classroom. And I can tell you that as a teacher who has taught for 12 years, that my single year in the classroom at Rawhide has probably been the most, I can't think of a better word than transformational. And I'll share a little bit more the personal connection when we have that opportunity. But yeah, the school is an amazing place for these youth who may have rejected traditional schooling. And we creatively help them, earn their credits, because we are an accredited school at Star Academy. And the trajectory that we send a lot of these youth on after graduation or, after they receive their credits is life-changing.
So what are the typical age of the youth who participate in Rawhide?
So on our residential campus, those young men are ages 11 to 17, similar to the foster program because they are going through the counties and the juvenile justice system. They age out at 18, just like you would in foster care. We are allowed to retain them a little longer, keep them with us if they're within a certain time frame of graduating, which is a wonderful experience. Angie can attest to that. Usually we throw this big party and just spend the whole afternoon celebrating these kids when they graduate. So that's our residential program. And then the youth that we serve in our therapy programs, we have as young as even 3 or 4 years old. We have them up until young adulthood, 18 to early 20s. We don't necessarily restrict the ages for that, though. We've got folks in their middle age and older that we've served because we're just the right fit that they feel like. But our our real focus is youth and especially youth trauma based. So all of our therapists receive some additional training and some real focus on understanding the needs of particularly that teenager who's going through everything from little things on how to process, growing up and navigate social situations to capital T trauma and some really frightening, ugly situations that they've been through. So we've kind of serve a pretty wide variety of kids through different ages and different experiences that we're there to walk alongside them as they figure it out.
And some of these mental health services also are, I don't know a better term than outpatient. So you don't actually have to be on campus to get some of these services. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of the outpatient services that we offer, whether it's in our traditional clinic setting or equine assisted therapy or the therapists who are based in schools, that is just like you seeing a regular counselor, just like any of us in this room probably have done at some point in our lives. You make an appointment and you find the counselor that's the right fit for your needs and that you personally get a good connection to, and then just determine, do I see you weekly, every other week? So that is truly just your traditional kind of outpatient counseling service. So you don't have to be any type of residential program to receive those.
Okay, now here's the one thing that's been missing from this so far, our conversation so far, and that is this. No one has talked about these amazing grounds. I've heard, now I've never been there myself, but I've heard from so many people that the grounds are just breathtaking.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Well,
much.
yeah, I can attest that when you drive into campus, there's an energy there, and people have told me that too. We've had visitors come and say, I can't put my, it's hard to explain in words, or, I can't really put my finger on it, but it just feels really good to be here. And I think that's a testament to, we alluded a little bit to our origin story, but it is a campus full of love and just a lot of compassion, and you see it on the grounds, but in the people there.
I will agree with that. I remember my first time turning in and driving up, and the drive there, it was just very calm and enjoyable. And then I turned in and this beautiful grounds, and coming up and seeing the horses, the stables, the beautiful buildings, the homes. There's gorgeous homes across all these acres, the trees, the nature, and then seeing people walking around, having conversations, smiling, engaging with one another, just very welcoming out the gate. And it's just absolutely a place that it just resets you when you turn into campus. It's absolutely beautiful.
It really is. And I think, we are so lucky to be out there as the staff members and the adults. But one thing that I've learned is an interesting fact is we have a lot of kids who come to Rawhide for the first time, and they've lived in large cities, very metropolitan areas. It's a little frightening at first. And, I grew up in the Midwest, and I've lived in the country, and I've lived in big, big cities. And so I've kind of seen both. But if you've never experienced how dark it is out in the country, if you've never heard owls at night, I mean, it's an adjustment period for them, and we kind of have to get them used to. A lot of these kids are, from a sensory experience, used to having noise and lights, and it's a little jarring at first, and even just getting used to the wildlife. We have a pond that we have stocked every year, and these kids have never had a fishing pole in their life, and it's their favorite thing to do in the summer. And I remember there was one day I got an email with some kids who are, we call it out of line of sight. They've just, we can see them, but they're farther than they should be, because they saw a couple deer and they took off thinking they wanted to catch the deer. And they probably, honestly, it's not wildlife. I don't know what they were going to do if they actually caught them. I don't know. They probably wouldn't have, but
Well, we weren't going to worry about that because it wasn't happening.
No, wasn't going to happen, but I don't think they totally thought it through. But it's interesting to us when we don't think about it from that perspective of how different that environment is. But we find that to be a very therapeutic environment, too. So it's one of the big benefits of having all that acreage out on the Wolf River.
And from my understanding, there's a museum, too.
There sure is. Mm-hmm. Yes, opened last year. We have the Barton Cherry Star Museum. It's really it's their autobiography, their ongoing legacy. It's absolutely beautiful. It is a must-see for those of you that are fans of Bart Starr and Cherry Star and all the amazing work that they have done in the communities. This is a chance to experience and see their love story. I mean, this museum is all centered around love. Angie's mentioned love a bunch and unconditional love, and that is at the core of everything that we do at Rawhide, and the museum is just a wonderful testament to the great work of two wonderful, loving, kind, caring people that done a lot for youth.
So Rawhide is open to the public to a certain extent. Like they can also go like check out this museum, or do you got to schedule an appointment or anything like that?
No, you don't need an appointment. We don't have the widest hours at this point as we learn to navigate. You know, we've never operated a museum before. So right now it's all on our website. We're open Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 10 to 3. So people can come out. They just let them know at the front gate that they're here to see the museum. We do make sure that if folks are interested in learning more or seeing other parts of our campus, that they have a staff person with them as we can accommodate. That is something we would need an appointment or notice for, just because we also want to respect the fact that we're a treatment facility as well, too. So making sure that we don't have folks that are kind of giving a self-guided tour around the rest of campus. But no appointment needed to come see the museum, and we've always got plenty of staff around to share more stories about what Rawhide does if that's something that you haven't learned enough yet about, too. We absolutely have people who love to share the stories of the work that we're doing alongside the museum, too.
Okay. Well, Mallory, you set us up for a really good transition here, because my next question is, can you please share a story with the Appleton Engage listeners that will help them understand the impact of Rawhide?
Absolutely. I know we've talked a lot about residential and some about outpatient, but one outpatient story from one of our clinics that I'd heard recently from a clinician and that I was talking recently with some of my colleagues about was this incredibly moving story of a teenager that had connected with Rawhide, found a really good fit with their therapist, and was processing through a lot of anxiety and trauma based on abandonment when they were very young. Essentially, the gist of it is that they were taken for a family visit, and that parent never came and picked them up. And it had been years since that happened. And as that had not been addressed at this point, and they finally find this therapist, and they're connecting, they're processing, they're going through all the really, really hard work for that capital T trauma that something like that is. You know, you don't get the answer why, you don't get to understand any of that. And so they're going through all of this tremendous work and suddenly come back to their next session and they had run into their parent just unexpectedly in public. And that is a whole other set of processing what that feeling is, and these things you thought you've worked through, and things coming back, and just how startling that is. And so they start working through that, and eventually, and I don't know the intimate details of the story, but it ended up allowing that parent to start coming into family therapy and start the reconciliation process and start making amends for what happened and helping their child understand and reunify that family. And that takes a lot of time. And again, I don't know the full end of that story, but I do know we have therapists that do unbelievable work in making sure that if you're given an opportunity like that, as difficult and as big as it feels, that we are so lucky to be the person to walk alongside that kid and now that family to go through everything that it's going to take to get them through to a healthy, safe, stable, loving place. And what a privilege that is and hard work, hard for our therapists to do too. But I just can't imagine how it would feel to be that child and not have that trusted confidant, not have that person who's there to help you work through the emotions and take the steps. And I'm so grateful every day for the therapists that we have that are given opportunities to be that person for the kids that we have, which it's incredible. And every time I think about that story, I'm just in awe of what happens in every single one of those hour-long sessions.
That's powerful. Okay, Sarah, you do not get off the hook, Sarah.
Oh, come on, Timber.
Wait, what is the story that you
I
have
was just
for our?
going to be quiet.
No, these Appleton Engaged listeners will not be denied.
I will not let them be denied. No. No, actually, Mallory's story really reminds me that there are so many kids out in our communities that really are in need of mental health services, but struggle to find access to those services because they are either uninsured or underinsured. And a lot of providers, for profit, nonprofit, will limit the number of youth that they will see that are underinsured or don't have insurance. And at Rawhide, we won't. We will never limit. We will serve anyone that is in need of those mental health services, and we find that it to be a critical component to help continue to grow our communities and make sure that the care that kids need in our community is available to them. So, I really, that story is one of many that Mallory just shared. It is happening every day, and I think it's really important that we are there for kids because they deserve it, and they deserve a lot more. So yeah, thank you for sharing that story, Mallory.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, Angie, you too. You already know.
I already know, yeah. So I'm going to share something that's a little more personal, and thank you, Mallory and Sarah, for talking about our youth, because obviously our work centers around youth. I started at Rawhide at a time when I was at a really low point in my life, and although our primary work is serving young lives transform, that is our tagline, young lives transformed, I was transformed, through the work of Rawhide. And, just, and it's really through the people, right? People make a place. And I can share really authentically and truthfully that the people that work at Rawhide are incredible. And, they saw me through a really difficult time in my life. I grew so much as a result. And the youth I got to work with shaped, my lens and helped me through just kind of toughening up at a time when I felt that life was really tough. And just to kind of pull myself out and think about what they were going through and their stories kind of puts things in perspective as well. And I learned a lot of vernacular. I learned a lot of street skills. I learned a lot of, just building boundaries and how to maybe toughen up a little bit from the youth and from the staff who supported me through all of it. I never felt unsafe. I never felt endangered. I never felt that I was doing this work alone. And that has given me such a deep sense of belonging there, which I think is a huge testament to the culture of Rawhide and to what we've talked about. We can call it culture, we can call it, organizational culture if you want, but it is truly, the heart of Rawhide is the compassion, the love, the care that we extend to the youth, but to each other. And so I'm so deeply grateful to work at Rawhide, and I know that other lives, outside of the youth have been transformed through just being there at Rawhide. So that's a little more personal, but a story that, that is true for me and that I'm happy to share with others because I just love the organization so much as a result, and I'm just incredibly grateful.
That is pretty awesome when not only is the organization serving who your constituents are, but actually the people who make up your team. Mm-hmm. That's pretty amazing. But it also caused me to have another question real quick here about, is there a cost associated with Rawhide? And if there is, how does that work?
Yeah, so there's two different sides of that, the residential and the outpatient. So residential, the kids, as I mentioned, they're all going through the juvenile justice system. So while they have made some choices that got them to Rawhide, they've also had a group of people at the counties and through the justice system who looked at them and said, we want you to come through this. We believe that you second chance sounds kind of cheesy at times, but this is a place to go to get the healing and the support that you need, because as Angie mentioned, these kids have gone through unbelievable, unspeakable things a lot of times in their lives. And so there's no cost to families for that because they are being placed there by the judge and by the county. So we are reimbursed by the counties for that program for the kids so that we can serve them to the best of our abilities and make sure our program provides not only all of their daily needs, but their therapeutic needs and things like that. For outpatient counseling, that would be similar to if you were just a regular person calling up to say, I'd like to find a counselor. So we will ask you about your insurance situation. If you have private insurance, if you have something like Medicaid or Badger Care, we would file that the same way you would as any other type of, say, private counseling services are. But again, as Sarah has mentioned, what's really critical to us is that we don't turn away kids who are uninsured or underinsured. So we will still serve them. It does create a gap. It is part of my job, part of why I have a job, why Angie has a job, is we're here not only as spokespeople for the organization like this, but to do fundraising to help make sure we can fill that gap so that it never comes to a point where we have to make choices about the kids that we will or won't serve from a financial standpoint. So that's a really critical component of sharing what we do and why we do it, and the incredible supporters that we have throughout all of our communities, helping us make sure that that is not a choice that we have to make, because those kids didn't make the choice to be in the situation they're at where they don't have access or the ability to pay. So we want to make sure that that barrier is removed for them too.
Are there any upcoming initiatives, events, or engagement opportunities?
So many fun things.
I
Sarah, you want to talk about some of the stuff we have coming up this year?
2025 is going to be amazing.
Big year. Yes.
Rawhide turned 60 this year. So
Whoa.
I know.
Yes.
Isn't that awesome?
That sounds like there's going to be a cake, and it sounds like Timber's getting an invitation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Timber, you will be there.
Timber, I think there'll be more than one cake. So we'll get you on the list for all of it.
All right.
But
I'm just
yeah,
saying.
absolutely. So yes, we will be celebrating 60 years this year. So we'll be having a celebration of that coming up throughout the year. We also do summer fish fries. So if you have not experienced a Rawhide summer fish fry, I highly encourage you. Third Friday, June through September of every month, Rawhide hosts a fish fry. It is delicious, I must say.
Mm-hmm.
Get two. Just kidding.
Take one to go.
Yep.
Take one to go. But it's a great opportunity to come out to the campus, to meet some of the youth, to see the Barton Cherry Star Museum, to have a great meal. We have live music. It is just, they're beautiful evenings. So I highly encourage you to pay attention. Mark your calendars. It is the third Friday of every month in the summer months. And then also we have our main event gala that we host every May, one of our biggest fundraisers of the year. So we're super excited to be able to start announcing some of the details about the gala, about our 60th anniversary and all of that stuff. So I highly encourage you to like, follow, share, all that good stuff on our social channels, and stay tuned for more information.
I will say, if we can get 600 plus people to come out and wait in line for a fish fry on a Friday, and we don't serve old fashions, it says a lot about how amazing the experience is to be out there. Not just the food, but the entire atmosphere and the energy and the kids being there and being your servers and how proud they are to be there. So it's
Oh, you had me a fish fry.
yeah,
And then, do fries come with that fish fry?
that's an option.
Oh, now we're talking.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Some good stuff.
We'll have to get you out there.
All right. Yeah. Look, I'm already hungry. I'm thinking about it now. Now it's on my soul.
Well, that's why we brought you the famous fish fry cookies.
We did.
Over
There's
there.
fish fry cookies.
Yeah,
too?
that's a big. Some people don't know that when we deliver your checks, not only do you pay for your meal, but you get a salad plate sized chocolate chip cookie with it too. We're pretty famous for them, so we made sure you've got some of those for you.
Yes. All right. We will discuss this further later. Is there anything the community can do to be helpful to the mission?
Absolutely. So there's the traditional ways. As I mentioned, I work in fundraising. Angie works in grant writing. We are a nonprofit, so obviously support through financial donations is critical to our mission and to our success. And we also still operate our vehicle program. So anything on 2 or 4 wheels, whether it works or not, we'll come drag it out of your yard if we need to. Vehicle program is still a really big way that we support the organization. But beyond that, on the other side of supporting us is sharing what we do. Share this podcast with your friends and family. Share who we are out in the community, and not just BART Boys and Cars, though that is core to who we are. Letting people know that if you have a youth that might be struggling or you notice a family member, not everyone knows yet that Rawhide has such a wide reach in outpatient counseling and trying to reach these kids before they get to a point that they need a residential program. So making sure that people know Rawhide is a resource. Rawhide is a place to go to get specialized, compassionate, really just thorough and individualized care for your kids, no matter what they're going through, big or small, long-term, short-term is important. And alongside that, I think it goes hand in hand with helping us to break down the stigmas of mental health. I think kids are doing a really good job. The kids I've talked to are open about it. They talk about it. Yep, that's what my therapist said. And that's so beautiful to see. But we as adults need to do a better job of that too, because the kids that we're serving are your neighbors. They're in your kids' classrooms. They're your friends' kids. They're going to your church. And we have to start talking about needing these services more and being able to share, whether it's Rawhide or other service providers, saying it's okay as a parent, as a friend, to say, my kid needs help, I need help. And so those things kind of go hand in hand, is talk about this more often. And when you do, think of Rawhide, make sure people know that we are a safe place and a wonderful resource for anybody who needs it.
Okay. We have covered a lot of ground and learned a whole lot about Rawhide. But I'm sure as people listen to this episode, they're like, where can I learn more? And who can I reach out to?
You can always learn more at rawhide.org. Our website is full of information and resources to help guide you into the direction that you're looking to go, whether you're looking for services or programs or looking to support Rawhide in one of the many different ways that you're able to. From a resource standpoint, you are welcome to reach out to any one of the three of us, Mallory Schwan, Sarah Munson, Angie Lee. Our information will be available up on the site here for Appleton Engaged, and we are more than happy to answer your questions and or point you in the right direction and connect you with who would be the best source for you. So please don't hesitate.
Absolutely. I will be sure to put the contact information in the podcast notes. So Appleton Engaged listeners, please check that out. Last question. Is there any additional information that you feel is important for our Appleton Engaged listeners to know that maybe we didn't ask a question about?
I think we covered so much ground in this. I would say the other couple things that Sarah mentioned you can learn about on our website we didn't talk quite as much about that I think are really remarkable is our equine assisted therapy. That's with our horses at the 4 different stables that we operate, and occupational therapy. And a lot of research coming out about how occupational therapy is really helpful for helping to regulate your nervous system and calm you down when you're processing really heavy emotions. And so definitely encourage you to check out our website and learn more about those two things that we didn't touch on quite as much, but are really key components to that entire therapeutic side of what we do.
Okay. Now it's that part of the show, which means it is shout out time. So who are your shout outs to?
Okay, I'll start, Timber. I want to give a shout out to the youth, both on our campus. So to the boys on our campus, we love you. You are seen. You are valued. You belong, and you are so cared for. And keep up the work. You guys are doing an amazing job of progressing through all of that. And to youth out there, please, if you need support, talk to an adult, reach out. Same, you are seen, you're heard, you're valuable, you belong. And so I want to give a shout out to the youth who navigate life tremendously and with such courage.
It's beautiful, Angie. I want to give a shout out to so many of our staff, but in particular our therapists, our direct care staff working in our homes, the teachers in our classrooms. I mean, all of our staff, as Angie said, have such a heart for what we do and so much compassion for the kids we serve. But it's our version of the frontline workers. It's the kids who are the adults day in, day out, working with our kids and helping them through such long and incredible journeys that they're going on. And it takes a lot to work with those kids every day. It's much different to be a counselor to a traumatized kid than an adult going through some minor bumps in the road. And they are incredible heroes to me, all of them. And so all the staff at Rawhide, but especially everybody who's listening to and walking alongside these stories of our kids every day. It's unbelievable work.
I'd like to give a shout out to our partners and our supporters in the community. our advocates, our believers, everyone who is there, who is spreading the word and the message, and just helping us to continue to do the amazing life-saving work that we do. We could not do that without them, without anyone. It takes a team, it takes a community, it takes a village. We all need to come together and stand up for our youth, and we appreciate and everything that you've done for us.
All right. And I also want to give a quick shout out to my partner in crime and normal co-host, Andy Anam. She was busy today, but know that you are always with us for every episode. So we appreciate you, Andy. All right. Now, ladies, I just want to say thank you for spending time with us here at Appleton Engage and sharing about Rawhide with our listeners.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Timber.
Okay, Appleton Engage listeners, I just want to say thank you for giving us your minds, your ears, spending time with us. This is becoming such a valuable resource. The more informed our community is, the more engaged our community is, the better our community is. But we are a work in progress. We are always trying to get better, and you are the way we will get better. So as you listen, please think of ways. What do we need to do better? Reach out to us. Do you want to be a guest? Reach out to us. And if you would like to recommend a guest, reach out to us. And how do you reach out to us? Well, you can contact us at belonging@appletonwi.gov. Once again, that is belonging@appletonwi.gov. Also, I think we want to get in front of more eyes, more ears, and on more minds here in Appleton. And there's only one way to do that. That is called analytics. And how do we improve our analytics? Well, what we need from you is, while you're listening to this episode, hit that subscribe button. And also, while you're looking at that rating, go on and give us those 5 stars. And if you've got a few more seconds, just go ahead and give us a review. These are the things that improves our analytics. The better our analytics, the more community members, the more eyes and ears learns about this amazing resource known as Appleton Engaged. Okay, Appleton Engaged listeners, thank you so much for spending time with us today. I am blown away about this particular resource and everything they're providing for our youth out there, and the fact that they have transformed to provide a service that's so important for our youth right now with those mental health services. So be sure to support them in the ways that you can. And if not anything else, it sounds like you should probably slide through and have one of those fish fries, because I know that I will. All right. Well, until next time, stay thoughtful, stay curious, and stay engaged.